there's almost no better time, I think, to be an athlete. Give me a platform and let me get out there with some hoop shoes. I'll get somebody buckets and get a NIL deal real quick. I don't care what level, because at no level does any coach want to lose. I might have played at the CC level and coached D2 and AI, but I have D1 contacts in my phone. Like, I love Nipsey, but I hadn't been grinding all my life. I just started like 15 years ago. Really, it goes back to me, like, be authentic to your game. Don't you think you got, enough snacks, or do you really think you need those? Something like that. And I was like,
Right.
like, there's agencies, you know what I'm saying, telling parents what to do and how to do. But hear me when I say this. When a coach wants you, they're responding. So I'm like, man, I'm here. I'm working hard. I'm doing my
doing
thing.
it.
You're either going to choose up to make the decision to transform your life. It was this or bust. And I wasn't trying to bust. I came back the next year. One of my assistant coaches was like, dang, you've been doing crack. Community college, JUCO, whatever you want to call it, 2-year, changed and saved my life. So folks know, I'm on that ownership track. Social capital is the equivalent to saying your network is your network. Just because somebody know better don't mean they know how to do better. As an AAU coach, I don't recruit. As a college coach, I do recruit. I just did a poor job of introducing myself. So I was like, oh, shoot, did I miss my moment?
Did you know that I have 2 books? One called The Little Girl with Big Dreams. It's about an ambitious little girl who overcomes every no to say yes to her dream. The other is called Changing Lanes. It teaches you about the things that you learn from sport and how it translates to life after sport. Be sure to check these out at itsjustdifferentpod.com. Let's get to the episode.
Welcome to It's Just Different Podcast, where we bring on people who have been where you're trying to go and or have helped countless athletes get there. I'll be forgetting to introduce myself because I like to get straight to the get. But I am the host, Ashley Roberts, serial entrepreneur, and that's all I'm going to say because we just need to get to the guests. I got former college coach, former college player, former AAU director. I mean, she doing it all. So I'm going to really let her introduce herself. Dr. Reese, Coach Rees, what do you go by? What do you go by?
I go by whatever's fitting for the occasion. You know what I'm saying? I like to say Dr. Reese, not to flex, but to really put some respect on my student loans. But really but for my mother and my grandmother and my ancestors who came before me, I like to put respect on it for that point. But also for folks to see a Black mass presenting woman like myself who carries that title, that's a really big deal. So some spaces I'm Dr. Reese, especially to students. Others, I'm Coach Rees. But to my family, I'm Ariassa, I'm Anna, I'm Reese, all those different things. So I'm excited. I'm happy to be here.
I love it. Everything. We're going to get straight into this basketball part. I always start the podcast off with what's different. The name of the podcast is called It's Just Different. So I want to know from you, what do you think is different from the girls' game now versus back then? And back then is whenever. It could be 2 years, 5 years.
I mean, outside of the obvious when it comes to the exposure, right? The exposure and I'm going to start with the positive side. The exposure on social media. There's almost no better time, I think, to be an athlete who wants to have a platform. Mm-hmm. Right? Like back in the day, like there's starting to be documentaries that are coming out about folks who played like on the women's USA team a long time ago, along the dream team of the men's, but that documentary is coming out 20, 30 plus years later compared to right now action. So I think that's the first one. The second is the conversation around hard work. That's something I was thinking about just coming into this podcast and thinking about my hoop story and my hoop journey. And hard work is something that's up for debate. And I think if you ask any player who hooped 20 plus years ago, it wasn't a question. It wasn't working hard wasn't an option, where now like it really is going to separate you from like, I'm a dog and I work hard and I only do this because I want to be part of the culture, but I don't really want to be in the culture. So I think those are some of the main differences that I see. But right now, I wish I was hooping right now. So give me a platform and let me get out there with some hoop shoes. I'll get somebody buckets and get a NIL deal real quick.
Listen, I'm in the corner. Pass me the ball. I'm just shooting threes. Like, pass me the ball. I need the people to really know who we talking to right now. Like, I just kind of said former club director, former coach, but let us into your background just a little bit before you start dropping all these nuggets and gems. Who is Reese? What have you been doing? Where have you coached? For how long? What does that look like?
Word. So Man, I'm from Tacoma, Washington, Seattle. For those who don't really, know the area. So out west, I'm a West Coast girl, and I grew up hooping. Like that was my thing. Like hooping for luxury, but with a dream of going pro. And I say luxury because it was like it just was what we did. And I say luxury because I didn't really know how to work hard as I was growing up. We just played AAU, and that was about it. So I was able to take my hoop career all the way up to playing professionally. I'll skip all the details at the moment, right? Unless you get to some questions about it. But my life changed, and I was able to hoop professionally, which then turned into me getting my master's in coaching. And then from there, I was able to be assistant college coach once I retired from hooping. I did that for a couple years, and I got my first head coaching job at 25. And man, that joint right there, I just was talking about it on my podcast about how humiliating and humbling it was my very first year. We went 1-25, and it was just a year of losses in multiple different ways for me, just as a coach and as a human. But I still talk to a lot of those players to this day. So as a coach, it meant a lot, but it also forced me to like being on this side is just so much different. So I know I kind of skipped forward and went through my story really, really fast, but that's kind of the high level is I played pro overseas in Brazil. And then I also did some tours in like France, England, Belgium, Holland, Colombia, and then played D2 NAIA, which I wish I could take back. The experience was cool, but if I could choose it all over and do it different, I would have transferred or not gone to the school in the first place. So I'm trying to give you some things so that if you want to ask questions and dive deeper,
Yep.
have
And
at
we're
it.
gonna
But
stop. We're gonna stop right there. I don't want to
okay.
interrupt you, but I want to stop right there. Why you said that you wish you would have done something different? Why?
Yeah. So I'll go a little bit backwards. So in high school, I loved hoop, but I didn't know what it meant to work hard. Like I
Yeah.
had no idea. I didn't know that I wasn't working hard. Let's just say it that way. So we hooped, we had AU tournaments, like we showed up to practice, we did our thing, and our coach would say, work hard, but it didn't like I thought I was, right? I remember one summer my coach was talking about we were going to a summer camp and me and a senior on the team and she was a beast. We had gone into the store to grab some like snacks and different things, and I grabbed some snacks for her. And he looked at me and was like, don't you think you got enough snacks, or do you really think you need those, something like that? And I was like, they're not even mine.
Excuse me.
Yo, my feelings was hurt because I was like, they're not even my it's not even my candy, right? So in that moment, I just remember being like, dang, my coach thinks I'm fat.
Yeah.
And so we go then into my senior summer, the next following summer, and all the seniors are gone. Like we had some really good folks on our team, but all the seniors are gone now. I'm a senior, and I'm like, yo, I'm trying to take over. So I remember in the summertime, I'm running on the treadmill. My mom was an avid runner, so I'm running on the treadmill. I did 20 minutes. It took me a mile to do 20 minutes on the treadmill. I text my coach. I was like, Coach, I ran a mile, 20 minutes. And I'm like, again, I thought I was doing something. That's the point of this story, is like
Mm-hmm.
just to show that, yeah, I was probably overweight. Like, I definitely was. I thought I was doing something. I thought running 20 minutes on a mile was like that thing. I thought I was coming into season ready, rocking to go, and telling my
Ready.
coach, I'm ready, right? So I ended up having a good senior year as far as like relatively for the area, but I was never on anybody's radar. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't like looked at. I didn't have a bunch of offers. Just all the local CCs were my offers, which was, again, I didn't have anybody walking me through the process and telling me this is what it looks like to get recruited. This is how you go through the process. Nobody told my mom, my dad, and my dad's sitting writing letters to ASU and WSU and UW, and he just sitting there handwriting the letters because he's like, well, I'm trying to get my kid off. She's trying to go, but nobody told us what the process was like.
Right.
And so when you think about something that's different from then to now, it's that. Like
Right.
there's agencies, you know what I'm saying, telling parents what to do and how to do it. Back then, that wasn't the case. So for me, I ended up getting I had a community college coach who came to my games. They kept coming, they kept talking to me, and I was like, yo, these cats is kind of fire. And I just fell in love with the coaches, and I ended up going to Highline Community College right out of college. And I get in there and I'm still overweight. I'm still like, I'm thinking, cool. I ended up graduating high school. I was first team all league. I played well, that kind of stuff. It was cool, but it wasn't, I still didn't know. Like, nobody
Yeah.
prepared me to be a collegiate student athlete because I had no idea. I had no older sisters, no big homies that went through it, nothing like that. So I get into the situation and I get into college, and I'll tell this part of the story real quick to get into the next piece. But our coach did this assessment where she had everybody rank everybody on the team, 1 through 15. Then she had to say, if we had a game the next day, who do you think should start? And then who do you think should work harder? And then who do you think should be like captains and leaders? So I'm like, man, I'm here. I'm working hard. I'm doing my
I'm doing
thing.
it. I'm doing
I'm doing it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what work I put in over that summer, but I know I showed up to that college practice and was like, this ain't high school. Like, smacked in the face. This is not high school, right? And so I get my assessment back. And at the same time I get this assessment, she tells me, if you don't get your grades up, you can't play. I
Mm.
was like, what you mean? I can't play? I
What?
remember somebody said that in high school a little bit, but it didn't have the same like
Mm-hmm.
realness behind it. You know what I mean? And I, at that moment, I had a 1.95 GPA.
Ooh.
So I was like, dog, like, I don't have no plan B. There
Yeah.
wasn't like, I didn't have a plan at all. I was majored in communication because I thought that's what I was supposed to do. Like, nothing really right added up for me in that moment. So she was like, if you don't get your grades up, you can't play. And then here's where you fit inside the team. Everybody ranked me like number 8. And then a couple people thought I should start. Almost everybody thought I should work harder. And maybe 1 or 2 people thought I could lead. So I get this real life assessment in my face. And it's like, you got to choose up. You're either going to choose up to make the decision to transform your life, or you're going to just sit here and fill out. And then I don't know what the heck I'm going to do because I don't have a plan B. But I knew I didn't want to be no sucker and fold under that pressure in that situation.
Right.
So I ended up changing my entire life around in that moment, and come full circle. I the next year was first in every single category. Everybody thought I should start. I was captain of the team. I was first team all league, like led the team in every single thing. Complete different from the previous 18 years of my life. The difference was I learned how to work hard. Like, I
And
taught myself how to work
but
hard.
I really think it was also you like taking your own accountability. Like
Yeah.
you saw it and it's like, okay, this is what I need to do versus like that's something when I go into like what's
Hmm.
different and not to just like talk bad about the kids now, nothing like that. But I think that
Hmm.
that's an issue. Like
Hmm.
if you give that to somebody now, they mad. Oh, coach don't like me, or oh, my team don't like me, or I need to go to another team. I need to do all these different things instead of taking a look at the mirror. Like this is just
Hmm.
what you need to work on. So I feel like
Yeah.
that's an
Yeah.
issue.
But the thing too is I have no other options. And
That's a
so
good
that's
point.
also what's different.
That's a good
There's,
point.
because of the transfer portal, because of all the different this and all the social media, all this stuff, like, there was no, well, if Highline don't want me, then I'm gonna go
I
play at
can go.
TCC. I just didn't have that mentality. I wasn't trying to go back home. So when
Hmm.
I say I've had no plan B, there was no, it was this or bust, and I wasn't trying to bust. And
Hmm.
so, and I also wasn't trying to embarrass my parents. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't trying to be another statistic from where I came from who just, like I said, I didn't have nobody in front of me who could show me the way. And I wasn't trying to be that same person.
Right.
So I literally started waking up at 4 a.m., doing 2 a days, 3 a days. I came back the next year. One of my assistant coaches was like, dang, you've been doing crack. Like, I lost, man.
Because you was working now, coach. I'm working. I'm really working now. I know what it means.
On it. Look, so I came back. I dropped it all. Dropped mad weight, picked up muscle. Like, my endurance was through the roof. Like, I'm playing 40-minute games. I passed our conditioning test that we had to get our jersey the first day of practice. Like, what I'm saying here is I learned how to work hard, and then I earned every single thing that I got after that. And
Right.
so now my mindset is really just like, I used to not be synonymous with hard work, but now when you think of me, that's all you think about is hard work. And
Mm.
I and for so I'm not like, I love Nipsey, but I hadn't been grinding all my life. I just started like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, like,
Yeah.
if we being real, right?
Hmm.
Um, so the reason why I say I wouldn't have gone to my D2 NAI is because I didn't have a full self respect for who I was.
Hmm.
And I knew I wanted to major in youth ministry or something athletic wise and that kind of deal, which has led me down that road. But again, I had a couple D2 offers, and on the West Coast, it's much different from East Coast down South. Like I think I could have went D1 if I was East Coast down South because there's that many more schools. But over here,
Right.
it's just a little bit harder. And so I ended up going to an NAIA D2 NAIA and small PWI, and it just didn't affirm me racially and sexually. So my holistic identity just took a hard toll for about 3+ years of my life. Now, hoop wise, I did my thing. First team all league, scholar athlete, dean's list 3.0, graduated top of my class, like all those other accolades. I got that. But as a person, I was severely impacted by just my holistic identity. And so if I could have went to an HBCU, or if I could have, played at a public school that just would have been better. That's why I say I don't regret it because it was what it was. But if I could do it over, then I would have transferred after my first year, where I could have sought more mentorship, would have had a better opportunity for more like social capital, social networking. That was
Mhm.
probably slim to none because it was a small town. So that's something to think about when cats are trying to get recruited. Would you go to that school without playing that sport? I
Mm.
wouldn't go to that school without playing that sport. Like, are there other things around? What does the networking look like? What are the opportunities that you can get involved in? And the school just really lacked in all of those. That's Simpson University, name dropping, by the way.
Yeah.
So
Now, what advice would you give? Let's say there are some kids that are in a similar situation. They're at a
mhm,
small school, and I would say, like for me, I've been talking. I don't know if you like seen my stuff, but I've really been like talking a lot about JUCOs. I think that with the transfer portal, with a lot that's going on, at the end of the day, these kids are going to have to go JUCO. These kids are going to have to look at the D2s. They're going to have to look at the end. They're going to have to look at all the schools that they keep passing up at the end of the day. And a lot of those are smaller schools. So what
mhm.
advice would you give young athletes that might be at a smaller school and don't have the networking capability or whatever the case may be to push themselves? I think that every athlete should be pushing themselves, pushing their brand. What advice would you give?
The first thing I'll say is community college, JUCO, whatever you want to call it, 2 year, changed and saved my life.
Mm,
We're not having this conversation had I gone there. And so I'm very firm on put some respect on the 2 year process.
facts.
They exist for a reason. And if you think you're too good to go to a JUCO, I don't think you deserve to really be a collegiate hooper then. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like I get it. If your skill level and your work ethic is already above that, then I'm not talking to you. But if
Mhm.
you don't have any offers and nobody's beating on your door, and like with actual, here's this I would say as a coach when I'm recruiting. If there's no money on the table, they're not serious about you. So
Mhm.
if there's no money on the table, whether you're going from high school to a 2 year or 2 year out, then they're not really serious. So then you have to start rethinking the entire thing. And so if you're a senior, right in high school, and there's no money on the table, then you should probably start knocking down the doors of some 2 years because there's a lot of them out there.
Let's clarify that because I don't want nobody to get confused. When you say there's no
Yep.
money on the table, what exactly do you mean?
Scholarship,
There we
right?
go.
If
I don't want these
nobody's
people to
saying,
think like these coaches are actually coming because they'll think that.
no, no, no. I mean, if somebody's not saying I'm willing to give you 65%, 85%,
Mm-hmm.
100% with a letter of intent to do
Mm-hmm.
that, then they have a full list already of people. And so if they're just talking to you, they're also talking to 10 other girls.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing that parents and student athletes need to understand is like, if I'm not saying, Ashley, I'm recruiting you, and here, especially in March, here is my national letter of intent that I want to give you this much to have this spot on my roster. If you're not having multiple of those conversations as a senior in high school, you probably need to be going to community college. And
Yep.
so the first thing is humble yourself. What does that mean? It doesn't mean think of yourself less. Just say, okay, I'm probably in a position that means I need to go to a 2 year school to develop my skills as a student and an athlete and understand this transition. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of folks don't get that. There's this a transition that happens. This is not easy. Being a college athlete at any level is not easy. And a lot of people aren't working as hard as what they think they are, myself included. Right. So I would say to them, you have to really start to think, how many folks am I actually having conversations with? How much, how many scholarships am I being offered with numbers?
Mm-hmm.
Not just we want you, but with numbers, right? How many visits have I taken? And if I push this out too long, am I going to lose a spot because I was being too prideful to go check out these schools who the first 2 years of school is the same thing anyway.
Right.
So you're going to be studying the same thing the first 2 years. So if you can get over that hump and say, okay, I'm coming here strictly right now, whether I see this as a prep school or I see this as an opportunity just for me to really get some minutes in and get my grind up and really understand it. But if it's your pride that's standing in your way, that can impact your entire life, not just your basketball career.
For sure. And I think you can speak to that because obviously you played at the collegiate level and like you said, you also coached. What
Mm-hmm.
made you get into coaching at the collegiate level?
Man, I've been coaching since I was 15.
Mm-hmm.
So I started coaching at the YMCA when I was 15. My mom was driving me to practice, and I was like, I love this. So I've always been a coach, and I knew that was something I wanted to do, but I still didn't understand the what and the how and how do you make that happen. So I just, I started asking my coaches a bunch of questions, and that's the best thing to do. If you want to coach, you go talk to your coaches. You go figure out, can I volunteer in your program? What is it? I volunteered for the first couple of years. I didn't make no money. And then at the community college level, I really didn't make no money as an assistant and as a head. So it was never about money. So my life um, filter for all decisions is, would I do this for free?
Mm-hmm.
And so when I was 15 and I started coaching, then I knew I wanted to do it. So when I got to college at 21, after I transformed my life and was like, yo, cats ain't doing what they really think they're supposed to be doing out here in these streets. And then I lost my little sister to gun violence. I really had this another life altering, changing thing of like, I got to be able to live in purpose that much more. And so I started a youth academy called TCSA, which stands for True Christian Student Athletes, and it was a sports specific academic and life skills academy, and it was in that I just developed just life changing curriculum, but also we did sports and we trained, and it was like that, it was that place to be. And I was like, I want to do this full time. And as you know, it's hard running a program full time, but I
Mm-hmm.
was doing that full time and in college. And then when I left to play overseas, I stopped and I came back to America, was an assistant in doing it. Then I was a head coach in doing it. And then eventually I was like, I have to let this go because at that point I ended up losing my mom and losing my sanity, and
Mm-hmm.
it was a whole lot. And I wanted to be able to focus just on being a college coach. But being a CC coach is every bit of everything,
Yeah.
especially if you're at a school that believes in you. You have an AD that believes in you and trusts you. And we had a beautiful campus, a great program all the way around. And so wanted to be a head coach was just me stepping up to my calling as a leader, and
Mm-hmm.
being able to take that youth program that I developed and then putting that into a collegiate program. So same information and teaching life skills from buying a house to leasing and financing a car to banking, financial literacy, to just communication. And we were talking about branding before NIL even started up. And
Yeah.
so just all of those concepts, it allowed being a full-time coach allowed me to be a full-time mentor, and a resource to my athletes. And so and then I got to coach on the side, and we got better every year, and I loved it. And then I started getting my doctorate, and then COVID hit, and I stepped away to finish my doctorate and make sure that my health was on point. But whenever I go back to coaching, if I do, it'll be to a community college level because I believe it changes lives, and without it, there's a lot of student athletes, especially girls and women and boys' lives, who just they wouldn't be able to do what they want to do as far as athletics is concerned without it.
For
But
sure.
my ultimate dream, though, is to be able to own a team. So I'm just putting that out there
Ooh.
so folks know, I'm on that ownership track.
I feel it. You trying to own. Own. Is this what type of team?
I don't know. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of women semi-pro leagues out there. Like even Brianna Stewart and her team, and I'm not sure what the options look like, but I'm moving into, as a leader and an entrepreneur, I'm moving into that realm of ownership management, because if the organization is not right, the players are going to be impacted. If the
Yeah.
general managers, the coaches, the system, all that stuff is off, it just impacts the experience for the athletes. And that pains my heart. And so, and my doctorate's in organizational leadership. And so I want to be able to apply, just the knowledge that I have and be able to create an environment where cats can really hoop and grow and enjoy their experience and have their lives change in the process.
Yeah, now that makes sense. I wanna take it down just a little bit. We went straight to college. You was also a club director, and coached club basketball as well. What advice would you give athletes and parents just in navigating AAU and navigating the AAU process, the recruitment process, all of the above?
This AAU is different. So when you say it's different, it really is
It is
different.
different.
The biggest thing that I'll say is this. I use the term social capital, and I'm saying it specifically so that way people hear it and it can stick. Social capital is the equivalent to saying your network is your net worth,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Oh,
And the
say it
reason
again for
why,
the people. Say it again.
look, so your network is your net worth, and that's what social capital is. It's who I know knows something and someone that could benefit me in my life.
Mm-hmm.
That's my social capital, right? And the reason why this equates to AAU, and a lot of cats they don't understand that, is like a lot of people pick teams because of coaches' social capital.
Yes, we have merch available. Be sure to check out the site at itsjustdifferentpod.com to see if it's something you may like. All right, back to the episode.
Yup.
Not necessarily just because what coaches know. Like, oh, I'm gonna play for John because John knows this coach, that coach, that coach, that coach, that. That don't mean that's gonna happen for you. Because
Facts.
if you still aren't working hard and you're not doing what you need to do, and it pains my heart to see players switch up programs just to play for a program that the coach has really high social capital. But that doesn't mean that you're going to be that chick. Now, this may increase your chances because of that coach's social capital. So I think that matters as well. But this can also happen for a coach who, so you're a prime example, somebody like yourself who, a coach who just talks to people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't have to start out having a bunch of clout. You don't have to have been, coach who's been doing this for 20, 30, 40 years. Like, your age is irrelevant. But if you're a coach, an AAU coach who's willing to put yourself out there to build your social capital, that is a player I would put my daughter on that team if I know that the coach is out there networking on the behalf of my daughter, right?
For
If
sure.
you're as a coach, you're not networking because it's for you and it's for the players. So in between games, you should be doing what you're doing, talking to other coaches, and I need to know you. And then it
Right.
has to be a process of I know Ashley wouldn't play herself, so I know anything she says to me is gonna be it because she wouldn't play her.
For
And
sure.
so as a parent, you say, I need a coach who's not gonna play themselves. I need a coach who is going to increase and leverage their social capital for me and my player, right? Me and my daughter. And as a player, you want the exact same thing. Because if your coach doesn't know anybody and don't nobody know your coach, that's going to damage you. That doesn't mean a brand new program can't do something. That just means that coach need to get out there and bust their butt because I might text, I might have played at the CC level and coach D2 and AI, but I have D1 contacts in my phone. So if you think from a pride stance, oh, they just did this, and this is where, man, this is where name tags get
Mm-hmm.
in the way, and
Mm-hmm.
name brands, and people place more value. This is
Yep.
human capital I'm talking about now. People place more value on the cats that played D1 or did this and that or played overseas, as if what they were able to accomplish in that way equates to other human attributes that are necessary when it comes to running a program and recruiting and organization and leadership and all those different things. It just
Everything
doesn't.
that goes that people don't think about. They
Hmm.
don't think about all of
Hmm.
that.
Yeah, and that's the thing that pains my heart, right? Where it's like the unfortunate piece is I only see this getting worse
Mm-hmm.
because it's because of not because of social media, but because of how we weaponize social media,
Yeah.
right? Where social media from the platform, and we see all the amazing things happen for cats who play at OTE and
Yep.
McDonald's All American, all these other amazing things that have been around, but now social media means like I want to have and need to have and deserve to have that lifestyle, right? And those people must know. But what I learned, the higher I've gone up in life and the more things that I've done, is just because somebody know better don't mean they know how to do
Tell
better.
me. That's a bar. That's a bar.
And just because somebody's in a position don't mean that they actually worked for that position and or deserve that position.
Mm-hmm.
And that ain't to that I don't have nobody specific in mind when I say that. I'm just going to go back to this part when I talk about social capital. Players, parents, think of it like this. It's about not only who you know, but who you know knows what you know.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to hoop, you need people to know that you can ball, that you're a dog, that you get after it. Because people like Ashley, other coaches, they're going to want to put you out there. But if they don't know that you could really get after it, if they don't know that you're a good student, they don't know that you're good in the community, whatever that may need to look like, that you're not a problem, you're not going to cause that coach no headache. If they don't know those things, then they can't help you in the process, because it really does take a village. And coaches know the basketball community is this small, and
Mm-hmm.
coaches know people. So act a fool if you want to, but it's going to get around.
Yep. And that's what's so hard. Like at the end of the day, and I think kids think that coaches just be talking when coaches say, I can't lie for you. I'm not gonna lie for you. I can't put my but that's real. That's real.
Mm-hmm,
If a coach see how you're acting in their practice, how do you
mm-hmm,
expect them to go tell this college coach, oh, so and so is this, and then you get to that school and you acting a fool and that coach is calling the director. I don't
mm-hmm.
think I don't think kids
Or
understand that.
they're not calling you back ever.
Mm.
Because here's the thing is, I
Now they
don't
don't
got
trust
time
what
to
you
be
say.
playing. Yeah, you blew your chance. And so this is we are made for community, and our purpose is connected to people and profit. I say this all the time. And as somebody like yourself who's a connector and somebody in the hoop village who wants to provide value across the board, people have to understand that like your livelihood is dependent on
Mm-hmm.
this,
Mm-hmm.
but it's dependent on people, and you're dependent on people to make a profit. And so you can only hand out so many recommendations, right? You can only do so much for somebody that you can't be like, what kind of family are they coming from? Because if I seen you there, is the mom about to be acting a fool? Because that's again a reflection on me. You ain't the mama, but you dealt with this and then you sent it forward. And now I have less trust in you because I don't have time. Because as a coach, the capacity is here.
Mm-hmm.
Coaches are full all year long. And if you're not serious about it, and I want to be clear too, this doesn't mean not have fun with your life.
For
This
sure.
doesn't mean don't enjoy your life. I am the most silly, serious person out there. Like, I'm silly and I'm serious, but I know when to be which one. You know what I'm saying? And obviously as an adult that hits different, but as a kid you have to be able to learn, okay, is this an opportunity? Can I be silly enough here to where it's not a distraction, to where it doesn't take away opportunities from me and it doesn't distract other people? Is this an opportunity for me to be disciplined and then just focus up because I can show people that I know how to be focused and engaged? Or do I not have that skill? In the fact that I don't have the skill of maturity in knowing when to be locked in and when not to, that could ruin your life. Not
Mm-hmm.
just in hoop, but just your life in general. That means that's going to diminish the opportunity. So parents, what are you doing to help your kids know when is the time and the place for you to have fun, be silly, joke around with your friends? It ain't in the hotel room on a Friday night when you about to be playing on Saturday and you running through the hallways. That ain't the time or place.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not. Right. And so that's why it takes a village to be able to help student athletes really grow through this process. So as an AAU coach, I never recruited. I even tweeted 2015. As an AAU coach, I don't recruit. As a college coach, I do recruit. Those are two different lanes, right, that I operate in. And I think folks who can operate in that level of integrity when it comes to that understand like, oh, boom, that person's going to do a good job of helping my kid get to the next level. But then also be with them through, that entire process. And I think that's what it's really all about. It goes back to people. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And when you have profit, it allows you to give that much more. It allows you to give scholarships. It allows you to provide and create NIL deals, right? Like I can't wait to see the students that are going to be sponsored by It's Different podcasts, right? Like they're because you have profit and you're trying to impact people. And
Mm-hmm.
so at the end of the day, yes, we use this orange ball to hoop, but it's a part of our makeup.
Mm-hmm.
If you're really born for this, to use it to broaden your community impact. And I don't want to say that like community service, not from that kind of way, but like to impact and do life with people for a greater purpose.
For sure. I ain't gonna even lie. You are talking. This whole 30 minutes you been dropping nuggets, dropping gems. You talking that talk. What advice would you give? We have parents, we have kids who are doing the right thing. They in the gym. Parents are investing. They're going to training sessions. They're doing everything they need to do, but they're lost. They get on these college calls. The kid don't know what to say. The parent not asking questions. And some of them are getting taken advantage of because they don't know. What questions should these parents and players be asking when they on these calls?
I actually wrote up a list of questions that parents should be asking. Um, and if somebody wants it, hit me up from that. I don't have it in front of me to spit it off to you. But the first one I'm asking is, tell me about your holistic development program, right, for my kid. Just because I want to know whether you're seriously recruiting me or not. Like it's just kind of good to know. Um, where am I in the line? And the thing about this is, it's kind of like when a player asks a coach, what can I do to play more?
Mm-hmm.
And if a coach just says, oh, you're doing a great job, like that's not really going to get you anywhere. And
Right.
so I would ask for, you know what I'm saying, as much as a FaceTime I can get, whether it's video FaceTime or an actual visit, I'd like to sign by here. What do you have left to offer? And if you know how to read people and you have negotiation skills and you can understand when somebody's trying to beat around the bush and they're taking too long to respond. But hear me when I say this, when a coach wants you, they're responding.
Mm-hmm.
I'm responding. I'm not leaving it because even if they're the assistant coach, the head coach is like, don't lose this one.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you better look, hit her, call her, text her. They're texting you after every game, all that kind of stuff. Right? It's I don't want to describe it as dating because that's not appropriate, but it is
You
a
know
game
it. You're
of
gonna feel it.
you're going to feel wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And the coach is going to be in your inbox. You're going to feel wanted. They're calling you, great game, all that kind of stuff. So now, if that's not happening as a high school player and you're doing all those things, now you make a list of every community college in the area, not to bring it full circle and not to tell you to go to a CC, but if nobody, again, is offering you funds
Yeah.
to attend their school and play on their team, and you're like, I'm doing everything, you might not be good enough to play at the level you want to play at.
Good enough right now.
Yes, and that's what I was about to say, and that's okay
Mm-hmm.
because the God given hoop ability that I was given was CC level.
Mm-hmm.
I was CC level good, and this is where the quote hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. I had CC level talent. Cool, did great in high school. CC level talent. My first year though, that talent capped and almost got me kicked out. So until I learned to work hard, and so you may be saying, I'm working hard, but relative to who?
Mm-hmm.
Relative to what? This don't mean overkill and grind yourself into injuries. That's not what I'm saying, but go play up against some top level players. Go share your film, go have it, like put it on Twitter and say, somebody tell me, you know what I'm saying, what this looks like. Have somebody who has a good sense of like, oh no, she can go. Because if you can't go, that's okay. And the reason why I say that's okay is because there are hundreds of community colleges in this country that will take you. And then if you get there, and I've coached some players who just weren't that good. And I've coached some who went D1 and played overseas, right? And the ones who just aren't that good, you know what happened? They got their degree.
Tell them.
And and they moved on to a 4 year at a lower level D2, D3, and got a scholarship because we busted our butt and they did the things that they did well. They never played high level minutes, they never deserved. Man, one player, she averaged, I couldn't even tell you how much of what, but she just turned 26 the other day and is an assistant coach somewhere, got multiple degrees. And
Love
I'm
it.
like, so when you only are focused on, if you go, woe is me, I'm not good enough, you'll never be. But if you say, okay, cool, I'm good, this is where I'm at, and here's how I can add value to your team. I can add value via hustle. I can add value via like leadership. I could add value with communication. I'm going to do all these different things. And I'm going to do them really, really well. I can't shoot that. I don't care how many shots I get up. My joint is ugly. Cool. But I can play some good defense. I can call out screens. And that's what's so dope about basketball is there's 50 different things you can do
Can
that
do.
you can't never really practice in a training session, but you can practice and practice. And somebody will watch that film and say, I have a score. I don't need no more scores. I have a 3-point shooter. I don't need that. I need somebody who's going to do. And you say, I'm her. I will
Pick
do it. And
me.
they'll say,
Pick me,
you're
please.
exactly who I need. Look, you're her. So figure out, how do I be her in a system with coaches who want me? But if you're trying to fit your game into somebody else's hole and you're just not good enough for that, really goes back to me like, be authentic to your game.
Mm-hmm.
If you're still working out and you're just like, wow, I'm just not, just be real. That's
And be honest.
self-awareness.
Being honest with
Be
yourself.
honest. Because if you can't trust you and you go out on the court trying to do things that you ain't trained to do, you know where you're going to be? Right on the bench. I don't care what level, because at no level does any coach want to lose.
Mm-hmm.
So if you try to step out of your authentic playing box at any point in time, you try to be fake in practice, then in games you want to show out. Nope. Didn't anybody tell you to do all that? So I think that just, it goes back to, here are the 5 things that I'm really good at. Here are 10 areas that I can add value to a team. Here are 3 areas that I should really work on this summer. I'm not very fast. I'm getting beat. My down and back time's not that good. I have a hard time communicating, right? So then when you can get that real with yourself, oh, you're a monster. But if you can't be that real with yourself and hold yourself accountable and really be humble in the process to like, I'm doing this because I love it and I want to add value and I want to be a part of a team and I want to get my degree and I want the chance to say I was a collegiate student athlete, which not a lot of people get the chance to say, and not for 1 year, but for 4+
Well,
years. That's
man.
hard.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I 100% agree. You a lot of what you've talked about really kind of answers this question I had. I really wanted to go into just decision making. Like you done talked about a lot of different things of JUCO, D1, why you went JUCO, why kids need to go JUCO, questions that they need to be able to ask. Now they done got to making a decision. I personally feel like, and maybe I'm talking more high level, but a lot of these kids are making decisions based off of the money of NIL or the collective or all of these different things. And this is why the transfer portal to this day is going crazy. It's going crazy. Like, let's talk to some of these parents. What should go into the decision making of choosing the school for them?
Again, I have a list. So if you want the list, email me. I got you. But off the top of my mind, when we make moves purely based off of money alone and nothing else, it most likely is the wrong move.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, parents, think about a job that you took that you hated it, but you only did it for the money, but you hated doing it, and then you ended up quitting because it didn't feel good, but you needed the money and you stayed and you was angry. Right? Like it's the exact same situation. And so I always tell folks, like, don't go to a school just for the scholarship. Right. So then now if you have the funds on the table, whether it's NIL or whatever the case may be, is because the second you don't like what's going on, and not talking about coming up against some like, it's hard. It's going to be hard. Ain't nobody talking about that. I'm talking about like, you're really like, well, this isn't healthy for me. The psychological safety, the coach is abusive, whatever the case may be, is, but you're like, oh, my scholarship. No, leave. And the thing is, you end up thinking about your scholarship last when it comes to a lot of these situations. You know what I'm saying? Like, so when it comes to the decision making on that, you want to ask, going back to the top, what's your holistic development like for my player? Right? Because you're going to be with them. What's the holistic development like? What is the personal development like? How in touch are you with their teachers, their professors? What's the study hall hours? What's your team culture like? What's your assistants culture like? How much do you interact to us as parents? A lot of coaches are like, I don't talk to parents. This is why I coach college basketball, because I don't talk to parents. First of all,
Oh, yeah.
what are we talking about?
I
Like,
literally was just
you,
at a tournament and a parent was talking to me about that. Well, how the coach is just like they only deal with the players. I
yeah,
mean,
they're no, they're not grown enough. They're not grown enough to be having, they're 18, yes, but they're like the difference between a freshman in college and a sophomore in high school is just 4 years. The
Mm-hmm.
difference between, you know what I'm saying? Like it's only a 4 year difference. Like that's not a lot of time. Anybody who has kids, look at your kid when they were born to 4 years old.
Right.
It's the same thing. So they're at a new level of freedom, a new level of understanding, and you need to be able to connect with parents to understand their home life, their culture, what's going on. And the parents need to know that I'm a part of your village. I'm not trying to replace you. And more times than not, we're saying some of the same things. So when I can have a relationship with the parents, they allow me to do my job. But if you try to exclude parents and take them out and take everybody, man, I would talk to boyfriends, girlfriends, best friends. I'd hit up the school. Like we was chopping it up. I needed to know who was in your circle. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? I need to know who was in your village, how you are having these conversations with. I had boyfriends at practice and this and that because they was living together and this, like it just, especially at the CC level, it's a part of it. So again, for parents who are trying to figure out the decision, you ask all the questions that like, what happens when my daughter gets hurt? Is what happens to her scholarship? Does she still engage? Does she still get to travel? Because when you ask all of these prefrontal the questions up front, and then something happens and you are like, oh, okay, well, you said this was how it was going to be. So you got receipts. If you don't have receipts, it's going to impact, because let's face it, stuff gets messy. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? If the coach themselves isn't a person of integrity and they're only in it to win and they're acting funny, because a lot of coaches are different from recruiting than when they are when you get there. And
Yep.
to like, man, you're not showing up, you're not doing your job. How do you see mental health? What's your perspective on mental health and mental illness? Like all of these different things, because athletes are mental health issues are increasing. How do you allow my athlete to have a holistic self identity? Because athlete identity is in jeopardy. There's just so many different things that are impacting just our college student athletes beyond the ability to make millions of dollars. But that's only for the top 1%. That's
Yeah.
not for everybody else. So if you're not her, that's okay because you're still her. You're just not her, and that's fine,
Hey.
right? So, you have to think of it beyond the name of the school, because don't nobody really care after you graduate what school you went to. Nobody cares. It's irrelevant. Your GPA matters pretty much kind of while you're in the system, but if you suck as a person, you're mean and don't nobody like you, it's
Mm.
irrelevant.
Yep.
If you're not a good teammate, it's irrelevant. If you don't really have a holistic life and all you do is it, just there's so many different things that go into it that, does the school support all of that? Does my coach support, all of that kind of stuff outside of my daughter just doing that specific thing? Do they get to come home for vacations? Does that matter?
I'm just gonna say that we are going to have a part two. Like, it's 45 minutes and I didn't even get to half of the stuff. Like, y'all
My bad, I
lucky.
talk a lot.
No, this was good. Like, I've had like some longer episodes. This was gonna be one. Like, y'all lucky I have to get to practice. That is the only reason, because I don't want to stop this. Like, I just want to give you your flowers. You done helped me in this episode. So I
Mm.
know it's gonna help so many other people. I love what you're doing. And we didn't even get to fully get into that. That's why I'm like, I know it's gonna be a part two. Anybody listening, her information will definitely be in the show notes. You can hit me. Like I said, we didn't even get into just the full of everything that you're currently doing, being a confidence coach, the speaking, the workshops, how you help athletes. Like, you talked a lot about holistic and mental, and that's your lane.
Mm.
And I think that's what athletes need. Like, so many times we talk about the skill, the basketball trainer, the basketball practice, the basketball team. But if your mind not right, you ain't gonna be able to do none of it. Like, you're not gonna be able to do none of it. And that's what I've always appreciated from you. Just bringing that aspect of it, and I think these kids need it. So keep doing what you're doing. Um,
Word.
like
Can
I
I give a
said,
30-second closeout on
for
on
sure.
me?
We're not
So
done. We're gonna do that. We're gonna do that in a minute.
okay,
You're gonna talk
okay,
at the very end. So yeah, I just had to, because
okay.
I was looking at it and I know we about to wrap up in a minute, and I'm
Yep.
like, because I really don't want to wrap up. I don't want to wrap
Yeah.
up. We're gonna get to that.
I
Before
just
we
did a
get to that,
poor job of introducing myself. So I was like, oh shoot, did I miss my moment?
no, like, no, you didn't. Like I said, we didn't even really get to that. That's why it has to be a part two. But before we wrap up, we got to do top five, top five. So I got five things. And we're going to go ahead and go right now. Number one, biggest ick as a coach.
Disrespect makes me want to throw up
Pretty simple.
across the board. I can't handle it.
I'm with that. Build your five. You can go five WNBA players or five college players. Who is your five that you're coaching to win a championship?
Right now with today's game,
Mm-hmm.
Candace Parker, Asia Wilson, Skylar Diggins, I'll probably go Caitlin Clark to spread out the floor, and oh, Brittany Griner, just because she's got a really good presence around the basket.
A good little
That's
group.
tough.
I can go with
Yeah,
that. You can live
yeah.
anywhere in the world. Where would it be and why?
Um, I part of me wants to say on an airplane, just so that way when I want to go somewhere, I'm just like, set it up, let's go. Like I love to be, you know what I'm saying? I live in between homebody and wanderlust. So on an airplane, on a PJ.
I'm with that. Your most memorable thing in coaching, of coaching.
Mm. I mean, today talking to one of my players who played on my first team that was 1 in 25, trying to help her with business planning, and then I helped her in her first coaching, got to write the recommendation to yesterday talking to some other players from that team. Like I coach every single day, so I don't really have a memorable moment being able to, hold their kids and be there at, celebrations that are like full lives. um that's it. I mean, I could talk about that and just start crying. Just the
Mm,
ability to be in folks' lives past the time you're contractually supposed to be as a coach, and they willing and want to. It's the same as a parent. Like they say, if your kids don't come visit you, and the amount of that your kids do and don't talk to you after they have to, that tells you how good of a parent you are. So as a coach, I take that same thing, and I mean, I talk to a lot of my players on a weekly basis, and that right there is what's the best thing.
I love it. What does that pregame playlist look like when you're getting ready for a speaking engagement? What you listening to?
Um, it depends on the moment. I'm like, I can get down to slow jams. You know what I'm saying? I might put on some Tank, Usher, Trey songs just to like put me here. Or if I need to like kind of pump up, maybe some Jay Z, Nipsey, Rick Ross. Like a lot of my engagements spread. But if I'm too hyped, I literally before I go in, I turn the music off. I pray,
Mm,
I meditate, I ask God to speak through me. But I always play music during my workshop. So I got, what I'm saying, some Beyonce, some Whitney, some old school. What I'm saying, I'm jamming and rocking. So music is life to me.
I love it. I love it. We start the podcast off with what's different. I like to end with the person, with you. What will be different with you within the next 3 to 5 years?
Oh, for sure. I'm gonna be a millionaire. I'm gonna be
Okay.
in talks of owning a team, um, or some type of something like that. I'm gonna be a venture capitalist. Um, yeah, those are probably from a business side, but I thoroughly enjoy who I am as a human. I love being a healthy partner and parent. Those are the most amazing things ever. My son will be in the double digits then. Who knows? I might even be wifey by that time.
Hey.
You know what I'm saying? I know I'm a soulmate now, but I might be a wifey by then. But from a business perspective, we'll definitely be global, and having and at an area where we're just impacting on a whole nother level. So the next 3 to 5 is about to go down. I know how to work hard now.
You got it. After so many years, you understand. I love it. If you could please tell the people where they can find you and leave a message. Anything that's on your heart, it's your turn.
Word. So I'll say this. Again, Dr. Reese, Ariassa Wilson, Coach Rees. I'm the founder and CEO of Youish Coaching. And our mission is to help other people develop the mindset, habits, and skills that they need in order to live out their purpose with confidence. My main main thing I want you to know in here is beyond the ball that you were born on purpose with a purpose to live out your purpose. And if you hoop and you really do this thing, cherish it, value it. The teammates, the coaches, every single aspect that you can soak up, do it because it's a part of your purpose. And when you're serious about your purpose, just know there's a profit on the other side of that. And when you got profit, you can impact people at a major level. So make sure if you're tapped in with Ashley, you stay tapped in with Ashley because she's the type of person that you want in your village and on your side. So make sure you follow me, TikTok, IG. I got my own podcast called Practice the Podcast, where we fuse research and culture to do those things. So make sure you tap in if you want to do workshop, training, coaching, whatever it is. I'm out here to add value. The last thing I want you to know is 2 things: that you are the bag and to continue with confidence.
I love it. And what's the IG? I don't think you said.
Dr. Reese is one, Dr. Coach Rees, and then at You-ish Coaching, and then Practice the Podcast on YouTube and Apple, and then on TikTok, Dr. Coach Rees.
It'll all be as well. Again, I appreciate you. This was a dope episode. Everybody that's listening, make sure y'all subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. Make sure you like, follow the show. We will continue to bring you guest after guest after guest who are doing what you're trying to do, who are helping people get where you're trying to go. And that's all we got. We'll see you next week.